This is a pile of debris left over from the tree surgeon. And so I did a little experiment where I'm kind of trying to pump it up with a little JLF and then IMO-4. So that's the sugary stuff that I then that I mix into the water. And as you can see, it's pretty fuzzy and forms kind of a mat. So I'm gonna try using this. It's mostly just a layer on the outside. As you see, if I dig in further, there's not as much fuzz going on there. But I'm gonna collect that and just throw it out and see if the plants like it. Might as well. But this seems like an easy way to get something a lot like this sort of storable IMO-4, and it's maybe just a little less work because this is done kind of just about half shade. There's a tree directly above us, but it does get some light. But anyway, I'm liking what I see. It looks like nice white fuzz, so I'll take it. Here it is, sort of zoomed out. Let me see. So it's just a pile there on the ground, and you know, there's some parts that are chunky and some parts that are not, but I'll just repeat the process again. So pretty stoked to see that working. Here's a look at some more of that nice mycelium. If I break into it. So pretty cool, yeah, that it propagates. Seems to do well, kind of on the surface, and it's coming out in nice chunks. And this is portable, right? I can spread this around all over the place, and my soil's gonna really like it. So that's something fun to do today. September 12th, 2022. Starting to feel a little bit like fall, and so hopefully that means that there will be less hot days and that some of these brassicas that I have been sort of sowing at the wrong time have just gone dormant and will eventually come back up. Fingers crossed on that. We'll see. But over here, we've got some sesame growing in the nooks and crannies. Sweet corn, which I gotta remember, I don't know, sweet corn should be planted in a square or a circle. Pollination, I just got, you know, wimpy cobs. So, you live and you learn. Or to just hand pollinate. But I'm never really sure when to do that. I've seen people do it on YouTube. A Japanese guy. Some berries are starting to come in over there, so that's cool. Here we have the Maximus. See there? They are growing. So yeah, some kind of petered out. I don't know, or if I'm just seeing sort of the dead leaves. Some may have stretched over in this direction into the corn here. Teosinte is looking bigger and bolder than ever. It seems to be getting a little skinnier. It seems to have kind of bolted or gone to flower, and its sort of shape seems to me to be changing a little bit. Photo period, so it should be happening about now. I hope it does not affect yield. I'm wondering if this is, you know, one of those things that doesn't make it to maturity in this climate, just because of what the day length issue. But I guess we'll see. Anyway, honestly, pretty stoked with sesame this time around. I think that's the way to go, is to just grow it among some other things, and it could be a cool one to do among these things, curcubits, because they, I think, height-wise, can do the right thing. at the right time. So that could be interesting. One to kind of mix in. What I was just thinking about a second ago was if there were a sort of perfect ratio of what a human would want to eat and that being represented in a plot of land, how would that look? So, say you're going to need a lot of corn, right? So you got corn and then you're trying to grow all the other stuff in the middle of it. How do you, what would the ratio look like? And anyway, so I was thinking that, if I was really saying no to any sort of distribution, say I want to, I still want to get the same amount of all these foods, but just do it in as equally spread out a way as possible, as opposed to monocropping. And this assumes also that some things are going to grow and aren't. Right. So I guess theoretically, what I'm saying is that there's a certain ratio of seeds that you could drop on your ground that would yield that result. Right. All the food you need in perfect arrangement, in perfect distribution. There would be issues, of course, of when to plant what. But in theory, that's possible. Just something to think about, right? And so if it's possible in theory, that means that someone could pull it off. But I would imagine there would be some areas where it's better to keep it to maybe just one or two things, depending on how you're working. This does not mean to eradicate weeds, but there's going to be some amount of weed pressure in there. But I mean, even for here, where I'm not doing any. Not pulling anything out of the ground. I will, mow over, chop over stuff. But yeah, even with just kind of a scythe and the notion of sort of shaving all the vegetation off the top of the soil at one point or another. Yeah, you see that over here, the so-called ideal, is on some level achieved, because it's like everything is occupying some space, right? And if you look underneath, it looks pretty taken care of. There's not a lot of light getting into the spot at any point in the day. Just because there's a couple layers of these, curculate leaves. And you can see that there are, these sort of dramas unfold within these as well. Here we're seeing, these are nice green leaves as mixed in with, some other plant. Right? So what's what, you can see. Just looking down there, it's a real mishmash of as the soil goes. Whenever you find it. It's moist, and it's healthy. There's, and there's trails that animals seem to establish. I would say, all good. There, I did see a rabbit inside here the other day as well. Probably eating and just hanging out there. maximum. Nice looking fruit there. Let's see what that turns out to be. Over here, 1, 2, 3 things going on here. So a lot of this stuff is, matured. And it's just kind of sitting there, which is fine. At least as far as I can tell. That's sort of, you get what you select for, and I guess I'm here selecting for stuff that you don't need to be too picky about the harvest of. But at this point, I'm not really even thinking about what to do with these sorts of things yet. Here's some more. Another, that's it, right there. But even among grass and some weeds, things seem to be looking okay. Overgrown zucchini there. There's another zucchini for seeds. There's a couple, acorn squash, yeah. Sea pepper. Over here, I would say one of my worst patches of land is right here, just in terms of productivity. Or I don't know, it's just like, I feel like I'm constantly pouring grass into it, and it's always just kind of still languishing. But maybe I'll fork it. Maybe this is where a kid's playground was, so it might be kind of extra compacted. So who knows? But stuff grows out of it, but it seems as though most of the stuff within that area is kind of just languishing. This one's a hula colored pit here. It's kind of hard to see. It just mostly sank, so I guess it'll just be extra fertile soil, or soil with a bunch of wood in it, at the very least. So, right on. What else? Okra. A lot of them, got too big to eat while I was away on vacation, so I left them to get big enough for seeds. So that's what's going on over there with those. Too big of an okra. Too small. In between. There's some in between. I came and got some the other day. Something. Some sort of brassica. Not sure what it is, but let's see. Basil. Trying to keep it not bolting. It might revert now that it's getting a little bolted. Let's see. But yeah, nice and filled in there. Although I would rather have some other kind of tomato. I think the Matt's Wild Cherry, at this rate, is on its way to taking over the whole garden. I like that tomatoes, can kind of fill in spaces like this. I would like more variety. So I might have to really inundate the soil with something other than to kind of weed it out. I don't know. But not a bad problem to have. Tomatoes are pretty easy weed to destroy. It's also a nice, I gotta say, it's a nice sort of chop and drop fertilizer. You can get, it's really easy, even without any tools, just your hands to grab a part, the part that's sort of tender enough to just, and then, you see that it wraps up pretty neatly somewhere. You can throw that on the base at some point. But yeah, maybe trying to keep the canopy free of that. It's interesting to see though, you know, I've got more Matt's Wild than I know what to do with. To the point that, and you know, this is the other thing, is that I've just basically stopped picking it. So that means more seeds are gonna drop, but that's all right. It's a food plant, and that's, you know, opportunities for things to cross and stuff down the line. So anyway, pretty easy combo here. Be fun to see what else, you know, what other kinds of tomatoes you could get growing in this sort of configuration. Here's some tomato that's just kind of been dropped down. Things are kind of working themselves out here. There used to be a lot of cucumber. Cucumber kind of came and went. I think the peak cucumber season might be over. Or it was just too hot, I don't know. But I'm past the point of trying to get those going. Although it might be interesting, you know, when you got this much seed, you might as well just be trying to look for something that might work anyway. But whatever, we got, yeah, good coverage here. Lots of cool butternut squash cooking in there. I'm gonna maybe try my hand at a little Koji charcuterie. We all know charcuterie. It can be done with Koji though, the domesticated fungus that I was telling you about in my last video. And that should be a way to kind of keep it shelf stable. I think that it, in theory, has the ability to kind of unlock a lot of nutrition from it as well. So I'm looking forward to giving that a shot. This could be the next big thing. I mean, it seems like, you know, this is nutritious food. If it could just be, you know, packaged, you could sell it at gas stations for a lot of money. What if it's like, you know, actually we got pretty good gas station food now. It's shelf stable, yeah, but it packs the nutritional punch. In theory, yeah, I think that there's, you know, some different ways that we could store food that maintain a lot more of the nutrition without using a lot of energy. Right? So freeze drying is awesome, but it's also, I think, kind of an inelegant process. It takes too much energy in the sort of electric form that we do it. So here's some carrots coming in. There's a lot of other stuff as well, but that's fine. Carrots seem to be popping up top, and they took out a few things. Give a little bit of advantage here. But I would say in general, you know, carrots, for me, my strategy going forward is just going to be to put them out. I feel like you could get carrots going in something like this. And that they could, you know, they could sort of, they would be a little shaded, but that they would be given an opportunity to do their thing after the canopy kind of opens up a little with the first frost or whatever. let's see. Melon Grex over here. Big one here. Oh, this melon's toast. Okay, well, got it in time to save seeds, but yeah. This melon is pretty rotty on one side, so I'm gonna remove this real quick. So, I may have let this go a little too far, but it's savable for seeds. So I'll go put this in a container, but that's good to know. New candidates for next year. I may do kind of a wider planting of those, because it seems like I only maybe got 2. Granted, I know this is a tiny space. And the most I can ask for out of any plant is probably 1. This is more for me about exploiting a genetic mix. So how many plants are there here? A lot of them, turned out to be maybe these Korean melons. Anyway, it smells great. It's, obviously got out too long, but keeping the mix going. Maybe I'll try for something bigger, wider spread, as far as a way of letting these grow next time. So here I have what may look like IMO-4 or filamentous fungi collected on a rice medium. It's been sort of put into suspended animation with sugar. This is almost that, but it is just Koji, the filamentous fungi that I was telling you about. And I was growing some out on rice in a way that's pretty similar to how you grow out IMO-1. And anyway, some stuff went wrong. I was doing it outdoors. I was doing it just in a little shed back there. And so it was a little experimental, but some, didn't feel right about eating it, I think, color-wise. So I said, I'm going to turn this into IMO-2. Except instead of indigenous microorganisms, it's mostly just one, Koji, the domesticated fungus that I'm kind of interested in explaining with, because I think that we're interested in experimenting with, because I think that it does have a similar sort of connection, and is perhaps well suited for pairing with plants as well. There's some reference to Koji. The scientific name for it is Aspergillus oryzae. And there's some reference in the KNF literature. The Hankyu Cho interpretation. At one point, I remember reading somewhere that your pile of IMO-3, I think it was, should, when you're sort of growing it out on the rice bran or whatever, that it should smell like Aspergillus oryzae, specifically, is what's mentioned there. So I think it doesn't smell like it as a coincidence. I think that there probably is something like it in there. And its role in the soil is basically the same as its role in sort of coaxing nutrition out of food, which is to convert complex fibers into sugars and proteins into amino acids, but then make food kind of taste better, or sort of more nutritionally available. So anyway, I'm going to put some of that out instead of IMO-2. Here's a little bed that I kind of shredded. I put the lawnmower on the lowest setting and bagged it all up. Just a little square here. And it's pleasant to the eye. There's some stuff that remains, but anyway, there's quite a pretty thick, so this used to look like this, basically, and then I just shredded it all up and put it down as vegetable seed of various sorts, and so now, yeah, I'm gonna wish it a happy trip with some Koji, which I think might have sort of a similar function, and if not, you know, it's just a new player in the fungal network, and will probably develop into its own sort of landrace Koji, which I may then sort of recollect and try applying to my fermentations. So this may become a Koji blog in the future, but I'm gonna mix some of that into my soil, mix this goo here into the soil, or into the water, and then put it on the soil, and hopefully that will help the seeds create some good initial connections. I'm also going to put some in this pile here, also some JLF, something to eat. Yeah, I think this is a cool strategy going forward as far as inoculation goes. So, watering in some of the fungal inoculant into what's already pretty fungal over there, and doing the same over here in this patch. Where I made an electrical connection. Solar panels. I'm going to put this down, may water over a little more. The idea is you want it to not just hit the top level, but to kind of get down in there as far as it can with a little extra water. So I'm going to refill the can, maybe give it one more sprinkle. Just mowed into a section here on the second to lowest setting. I might go one more, because as you can see, there's a lot of that shitty weed there. But soil looks good. Yeah, I might just go one more down, just a closer shave here, and then plant into it. Here it is, covered with actually just the finest grain. This is just the level 1 shave bits. Level 2 shave bits are in this pile. So you see, you do get kind of two different grades of stuff you can use if you adjust the height of your lawnmower. So something to think about there as well. Anyway, so I'm just going to water over this with plain water now. So water below and on top of with IMO-4, that stuff over there, and then just fresh water on top. That's my idea anyway. You don't want mold growing over the seed, just under it where it's more safe. So I'm going to do that now. Here's the patch after it had some of that black woven fabric cloth over it. So it weakens it, doesn't really kill it. But I'm going to mow over this now and plant into it. Just pushed everything back. This is my strategy for curcubits that are going in the wrong place. Just push them back let him fight it out, let him figure it out. So yeah, we'll have a nice little patch here pretty soon. Looks like there's plenty of organic material here. You have to, kind of really dig in to find it, but there it is. So we'll take a look at it once it's all shaved off. Here are some melon seeds that I'm soaking to get the gel coating off. I've got 3 layers of filter here, and that's leaking into a bunch of overripe cucumbers for seed. So it's a whole bucket full of them there. Might as well save the runoff. Pretty good looking melon seed there. Here they are now, drying in the sun. It's pretty dry. I'm gonna mix them around a little more. They just form clumps, and within those clumps tend to get a little not as dry in the middle. Got the glove on because still smells kind of bad. Get these back in. Can I pick them up with the rubber gloves? I did. Alright. Let them dry a little more. Here is the patch of soil that I seeded the other day. I used the lawnmower to cut it down about as close as it'll go, and then threw a bunch of seed down. Then I put all the mulch back over it, so whatever got mowed up got put back down. But, it was pretty thick. You can see there. Some corn mixed up in there. Anyway, the mower's nice. It does chop things up. That's petroleum though, so maybe not a great long-term solution. But you could probably accomplish something similar with a scythe and a rake, and maybe something to kind of chop up your organic matter. But yeah, coming in very nicely there. It's about the middle of September. Brassicas have just been struggling otherwise. Other than some that I see kind of on the edge here, seems like you will find a healthy, here's one. You can spot a healthy brassica on this side of the yard. But that's just how hot it's been. They do not like the hot weather. It'll be interesting to see what of the withered brassicas comes back. But yeah, now's a good time to be throwing out new seeds. I'm going to trim the hedges. Not as fun as hanging out back here, but gotta do what you gotta do as a homeowner. So, we'll be back here in a bit. Here are Korean melon in various stages. Some a little more done than others, but that's to be expected. I think a lot of these were F1s that then got grown out, but pretty good yield, I would say. Pretty easy to grow, not too bad. I would plant these a little earlier next time. but all said and done, a lot of little fruits. They tend to be little, so that's to be expected, but there's quite a few of them, and it's a little easier to grow than a full-on melon, simply because they just are smaller. You have more time, more chance to pull it off. So this will be one that I will have a lot of seed for next time, and looking forward to planting out more of those and getting my own landrace Korean melon growing here. So pretty cool to observe.